The world doesn't reward the loud. It never has. It tolerates noise, entertains it, even applauds it for a moment. But power? Real power. It belongs to the quiet, the unseen, the ones who sit in the shadows while the rest of the world performs. The loudest person in the room is rarely in control. They crave attention, they need validation, they chase applause, and in doing so, they forfeit control. Because the one who talks the most gives away the most. Every word, a map to their thinking. Every explanation, a confession of weakness. You don't win by convincing. You don't win by sharing your vision. You win by holding it close. You win by keeping them blind. Those who dominate don't need to be understood. They don't clarify, they don't justify, they don't announce their intentions. They move like ghosts, unseen, unpredictable, and untouchable. Their power is not in volume but in restraint, in knowing what not to say, what not to reveal. The greatest weapon you can possess in any conflict, in any relationship, in any pursuit is silence. Because silence makes people nervous. It makes them wonder, and in wondering, they make mistakes. Think for a moment about how many times you've exposed your thoughts to people who didn't earn them. How many times you've explained yourself to someone who didn't deserve the insight. How often you've shared your goals only to find resistance, criticism, or sabotage waiting in return. You may think you're being transparent, honest, or inspirational, but you're not. You're bleeding leverage. You're opening yourself up to manipulation. Silence protects. Words expose. Most people are terrified of being misunderstood. They think clarity will make them safe. They think if they just explain enough, if they just communicate clearly, they'll be respected. But respect doesn't come from clarity. Respect comes from uncertainty, from unpredictability, from fear. When people don't know what you're thinking, they step carefully. When they don't know what you want, they move cautiously. And in their hesitation, you find your advantage. Silence is not passive. It's tactical. It's not about being absent. It's about being strategic. Saying nothing forces others to reveal themselves. They fill the silence with their fears, their desires, their assumptions, and those assumptions become your battlefield. When you're quiet, others speak more. And in speaking, they show their hand. They expose their strategy. And you stay 3 steps ahead. The people who win in life really win aren't the ones who speak the most. They're the ones who listen the deepest. They observe. They wait. They gather information while everyone else is broadcasting. And when they move with precision, not with noise, not with trauma, but with devastating impact. Sharing is often a trap disguised as virtue. You're told that openness builds trust, that communication is the key to leadership, that vulnerability makes you strong. But all of that is propaganda for the weak. The truth is, the more people know about you, the easier it is to control you. If they know your dreams, they can bait you. If they know your fears, they can weaponize them. If they know your next move, they can block it before it even begins. You want control? Then starve them of information. Keep them guessing. Keep them reaching. Let them chase shadows while you remain a phantom. In every domain of power, business, politics, relationships, the one who reveals the least always wins the most. Because unpredictability paralyzes. It forces people to hesitate. And hesitation is the first sign of defeat. When others hesitate, you act. When they speak, you listen. When they plan, you move. Power isn't about brute strength or intellect. It's about timing, precision, presence. You can be the smartest person in the room and still lose if you're predictable. You can be the strongest and still fall if they see you coming. But if they never know your angle, if they never see the full picture, you are invincible. The illusion of transparency is one of the greatest self-sabotages. The belief that others need to know your intentions, your motivations, your heart, its weakness dressed as authenticity. You owe no one clarity, not until you've already won. The only time to speak is after the victory, when the crown is already yours, not before. Let them think you're lazy while you're planning. Let them believe you're done while you're advancing. Let them assume you're weak while you're building power quietly, methodically, without interruption. Your silence will do more than protect you. It will haunt them. It will make them paranoid. They'll replay every interaction, searching for clues. They'll wonder why you didn't explain, why you didn't react, why you didn't respond the way they expected. And in that confusion, they'll create stories. They'll imagine threats that don't exist. They'll build a monster in their mind, and you will become that monster, whether you ever intended to or not. This is psychological warfare, and it's won not with weapons or speeches, but with restraint, with ambiguity, with control. You don't need to correct every lie. You don't need to defend yourself against every accusation. When you do, you lower yourself. You tell the world that their words matter. But when you remain calm, still, and silent, you send a different message, that you are untouchable, that their noise doesn't reach you, that you move on your own terms. Control perception, and you control reality. But to control perception, you must first master the art of misdirection. Don't just say less, say things that lead them away from the truth. Let them think they know you. Let them believe they've figured you out. Feed them false patterns. Let them plan against a version of you that doesn't exist. And when they act against a ghost. Then strike from the place they never thought to look. Predictability is death. Pattern is vulnerability. To survive in this world, to rise, to dominate, you must become unreadable. Stop broadcasting your every move. Stop updating the world on your progress. Stop announcing your next step like a fool begging for attention. Your future belongs to no one but you. And the moment you give someone access to your vision, you give them the power to derail it. Do not give them that power. Move in the dark. Build in silence. Let them believe you've disappeared, then return stronger, sharper, deadlier. Let your success be so undeniable that it needs no announcement. Let your victories speak in volumes. Your silence never will. Most people never win because they don't know how to shut up. They don't know how to wait. They confuse visibility with importance. But visibility is not power, it's exposure. And exposure invites attack. The most dangerous force in any environment is not the one shouting threats. It's the one you didn't see coming. Power favors the hidden hand, the quiet force, the presence that shifts the entire room without a single word. Become that presence. Stop trying to be understood. Start being feared. Stop explaining. Start executing. You were not born to be legible to the crowd. You were born to control it. So let them underestimate you. Let them speak your name with confusion. Let them wonder what you're doing, where you've gone, why you've stopped responding. While they obsess, while they doubt, while they spiral, you rise. Move in silence. Strike without warning. Win without permission. Because in the end, power doesn't belong to those who speak the loudest. It belongs to those no one ever saw coming. When you understand the true nature of power, you realize that what most people call success is merely noise on the surface, flashy, loud, but fleeting. True power is patient. It waits for the perfect moment to manifest, and when it does, it hits with a force that cannot be ignored. This power does not broadcast itself on social media. It does not demand applause or validation. It does not shout from rooftops or seek approval from crowds. Instead, it moves quietly beneath the surface, like a river carving its path through rock, unstoppable, unseen, and inevitable. Consider the natural world for a moment. The predator does not announce its hunt. It does not send invitations or notifications. It waits in silence, blending with shadows, patiently observing. When the moment comes, it strikes with brutal precision and then disappears without a trace. The victim never sees it coming. That is the essence of power, the ability to act without warning, to influence without explanation, to control without confrontation. And yet, in human society, so many fall victim to the illusion that transparency is strength. We are told that honesty will protect us, that openness breeds trust, that vulnerability is a sign of courage. But this is naive at best and dangerous at worst. Vulnerability in the wrong hands becomes a weapon against you. Openness can be exploited, trust can be betrayed, and honesty can be twisted into a tool for your undoing. You must be selective with your truth. Guard it as if your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. Every secret you reveal is a door open to your enemies. Every truth you share is an arrow you send into your own defenses. If you want to master power, you must become a master of discretion. Power is the art of mystery. It thrives in ambiguity and thrives when others are left to fill the gaps with their own insecurities. The less you say, the more you control. The less you explain, the more you own the narrative. When others try to define you, you deny them the fuel by withholding the facts. Let them speculate, let them doubt, let them imagine. Their uncertainty becomes your shield. In this game of shadows, patience is your greatest ally. The world around you is in constant chaos, a storm of opinions, emotions, and distractions. Most people rush to act, desperate for immediate gratification or recognition. They speak before they think. They reveal before they analyze. They move before they strategize. And in their haste, they leave themselves exposed, vulnerable, and defeated. You, however, must learn to move deliberately, like a chess master playing a long game. Every silence is a move. Every hesitation is a calculated delay. Every absence is an invisible presence shaping the battlefield. By doing less, by saying less, you create space, a vacuum into which your opponents rush, unprepared and ill-equipped. Mastering silence is not just about withholding speech. It's about cultivating presence. It's about commanding attention without uttering a single word. It's about the confidence to stand still while the world spins in chaos around you. People are drawn to those who do not seek their approval, who do not bend to their expectations, who exist independently of their judgments. When you embody this kind of silent power, you become magnetic. People lean in to hear what you might say, what you might do next. But because you offer no clues, you keep them hooked, waiting, guessing, obsessed. And that obsession is your leverage. Imagine a room filled with people all vying for attention, all desperate to be seen, heard, and validated. Then imagine one person standing calmly in the center, silent but resolute, watching, listening, absorbing. That person holds the room in their grasp, not because they are loud, but because their silence forces everyone else to speak around them, reveal themselves, and ultimately lose themselves. This is the paradox of power. The more you conceal, the more you reveal your dominance. The more you retreat into silence, the louder your influence becomes. The less you explain, the more control you wield. But this mastery demands discipline. It requires you to resist the primal urge to justify, to defend, to prove yourself. It demands that you develop a thick skin to ignore provocations and stay unmoved in the face of chaos. The loudest insults, the harshest criticisms, the most cunning manipulations, they are all distractions meant to break your silence. You must learn to see through these traps and remain steadfast. In this world, everyone is fighting for power, consciously or not. Even those who seem harmless are jockeying for position. And the moment you lose your calm, the moment you give them a reaction, you lose. Your enemy does not need to overpower you physically or intellectually. They only need to provoke you into revealing your weaknesses. Remember this: reaction is surrender. When you react, you acknowledge the power of the stimulus. You grant your adversary control over your mind, your emotions, your decisions. Power lies in response, not reaction. To respond is to choose your moment, your words, your actions with purpose. To react is to be pulled like a puppet, a marionette dancing to another's tune. So when provoked, do not speak immediately. Do not justify yourself. Do not explain. Hold your silence as a shield. Use it to gather strength. Use it to analyze. Use it to plan. Your silence will frustrate them. It will drive them mad, because humans hate uncertainty. They crave clarity even if that clarity means discomfort. They prefer an enemy who speaks, who shows their cards, who makes themselves vulnerable. But when faced with silence, they face the unknown, and the unknown is terrifying. Silence is the breeding ground for fear. When you say less, you invite them to fill the void with their worst nightmares. And those nightmares paralyze them. They become hesitant, cautious, tentative. And in hesitation lies opportunity. But be warned, silence is a double-edged sword. It can protect you, but it can also isolate you. The key is balance. You must know when to be silent and when to speak. You must understand that silence is a tool, not a crutch. Speak only when your words have power. Speak only when your voice will move mountains or topple kings. Speak only when your silence would mean weakness or surrender. Otherwise, guard your words like precious gems, rare, valuable, and dangerous in the wrong hands. Silence also allows you to see through the illusions others create. People often hide behind words, stories, and explanations to mask their true intentions. But when you refuse to engage in the noise, you cut through the facade. You see people as they really are, their fears, their desires, their weaknesses. This clarity is power. It gives you insight that others lack. It allows you to anticipate their moves, to prepare your counters, and to strike with precision. In relationships, silence is a weapon few wield effectively. The need to be liked, to be understood, to be accepted drives most people to overshare, to explain themselves endlessly, to justify their every action. But this desperation invites manipulation. People who understand this will use your words against you. They will twist your explanations, weaponize your vulnerability, and erode your confidence. By cultivating silence, you deny them this ammunition. You create an aura of mystery that commands respect and caution. People are less likely to attack what they cannot understand or predict. In business, silence can be your greatest negotiation tool. The one who speaks first loses, because the first to reveal their position gives the other party leverage. When you say nothing, you force your opponent to reveal their hand first. You watch, you learn, and then you decide your move. Power in negotiations is rarely about force or intimidation. It's about patience, control, and silence. The person who can hold their tongue longest often wins the deal. But beyond silence, power is also about detachment. It is about separating your sense of self from the outcomes you pursue. Most people tie their identity to their achievements, their reputation, their social standing. This attachment makes them vulnerable. When things go wrong, they panic. When criticism comes, they crumble. Detachment creates resilience. It allows you to maintain your calm, your clarity, your purpose, regardless of external circumstances. You become a force untouched by chaos because your power is internal, not dependent on approval or success. This internal power transforms silence from mere absence of words into a presence that commands awe. There's a profound difference between being quiet because you have nothing to say and being quiet because your silence says everything. The latter is the domain of the powerful. It is the realm of those who understand that silence is not emptiness, but fullness, a space where ideas, strategies, and influence grow unseen. To master power, you must cultivate this fullness within your silence. Fill your quiet moments with reflection, with learning, with planning. Let your silence be the fertile ground from which your strength emerges. In a world obsessed with visibility, with constant connection, with endless chatter, the ability to withdraw into silence is revolutionary. It is a rebellion against distraction, against superficiality, against manipulation. And it is the ultimate form of control. Because when you control your silence, you control your mind. When you control your mind, you control your actions. When you control your actions, you control your destiny. So embrace the power of the unseen. Become the shadow that moves through the crowd unnoticed, yet indispensable. Let your silence be your signature, your weapon, your legacy. In the end, The loudest voice fades, but the silence you command echoes forever.